Hey guys, it's Mark from markpetersphotography.com, and today I'm going to talk about safe lights and how to check to see if they are actually safe. In this dark room I've used two types of lighting. I've just used a regular red light bulb. Actually I have two of them, one on each side, hooked up to a dimmer so I can control the brightness. And I started using these guys when I was filming in this room in order to give me a little bit extra light so that I could get some footage that was actually usable. With that, I had to sacrifice some fogging on the paper while I was filming, which when I'm not filming, I usually turn them way down so that it doesn't happen. Now these bulbs are not really recommended because there's no specs on these bulbs in order to use them in a darkroom environment. So I've also used this guy right here, which is a proper darkroom safe light, which has the proper filter. And this one had a 15-watt bulb in it, and it was mounted on the ceiling right here, which caused some issues because it was too direct, it's too close, couldn't see anything in the sink or at the enlarger. So I have put in a 25-watt equivalent LED bulb. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it on the wall right here, directed at the ceiling. So I'm going to use the ceiling as a diffuser, and hopefully I should get a more even light. But whenever you're changing safe lights, or you're changing the filter in your safe light, or even if you're using different paper, it might not be a bad idea just to run a test to see if your safe lights are actually safe. So let's get this guy mounted on the wall again, plugged in, and we'll run some tests. Alright, so we've got our safe light mounted on the wall, it's pointed to the ceiling, and we're ready to go. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to pre-sensitize a piece of paper to light. Now the reason why we do that is because a piece of photographic paper becomes more sensitive once it is first initially exposed. So, and what we need to know is how long do we need to expose that piece of paper so that it comes out as a very light gray. So I'm going to use this enlarger. I'm going to expose a piece of paper like I would a test strip. So I'm going to expose the whole sheet for 1 second, cover part of it up, expose it for another second, and cover it up a little more and expose for another second. So it should come out with a piece of paper that's exposed 1, 2, and 3 seconds. Then I'm going to develop it, and hopefully we end up with a very light gray piece of paper. And then we can move on to step 2. So the only problem with this step is, and some of the other steps, is that we're testing safe lights. So we can't actually use our safe light when we're doing this. So I'm going to be in the dark. Alright, so after developing this piece of paper, this is what came out. So we have 1 second, 2 seconds, and 3 seconds of exposure with the enlarger. So I think we'll go with 2 seconds. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off the lights again. I'm going to expose a whole sheet at 2 seconds. Then I am going to put it on the work surface here, and I'm going to cover up half of this like so. So this side that's covered will be the control, and then I will expose the other side, the whole sheet, for 1 minute, cover it up, expose it for another minute, cover it up another minute, another minute, another minute, and another minute, and then hopefully we'll get 6 minutes of total exposure on this sheet, and we'll see if what comes out. Hopefully everything will be that shade of gray, and then we know that our safe lights are actually safe. So let's get started. Alright, so we exposed the whole sheet for 1 minute. So I will cover up a part of it. And I'm even going to put a little pencil line so I will be able to tell where it is. So we're almost nearing the 6-minute mark, which means that we're almost done. What I'm going to do next, once the time runs out, I will shut the Safelight back off and develop this piece of paper in complete darkness. And then we'll see what the results are. Alright, so the results are in. And what we have is we have a slightly gray piece of paper, which is perfect. And here we have our 1 minute exposure, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 minute exposure. I drew some lines on there while I was exposing it so I could tell if there was a significant change, or in this case, no change whatsoever. So I like the results, so this Safelight is safe. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to switch out that Safelight with the red bulbs that I showed earlier, these guys right here, and I will turn them on and we'll run the same test over again. And then we'll see if these bulbs work just as well as an actual Safelight, depending on the brightness of the bulb settings, of course. So let's try that out. So just like before, we're almost at the 6-minute mark. And what we're going to do is we're going to shut the Safelights back off, and we're going to develop this piece of paper in complete darkness. And then we'll see what we get for results. Alright guys, the results are in. First, we'll cover the actual Safelight, the proper one, which is this sheet right here. Everything is a nice even shade of gray. There is no variation, even up to 6 minutes. Everything looks exactly the same. So before, I was using a 15-watt bulb in there, an incandescent, and it was hanging overhead, shining down on my work surface, and I couldn't really see as much as I would like. I got a hot spot here, and the sink and the enlarger were dark, and it was just hard to work with. Now, with the 25-watt equivalent LED bulb in there, pointing at the ceiling, giving me indirect light, I can see everything. So that's working a treat. Alright, on to the results of the red bulb. When I set the dimmer switch to the mode that I set it for filming purposes in here, as you can see in some of my older videos, I already knew there was going to be some fogging. And this is the result. Even at the 1 minute mark, there is some definite difference there. And it only gets worse when we go up, of course, and it's significant. So that is a bad result. But because of the filming, I needed more light, so I knew this was going to happen and sacrifices had to be made. But when I set the dimmer switch to what I would normally set it to for making prints, the results are fine. All the way up to 5 minutes, I can't see any difference. At the 6 minute mark, it is a little different. Now, that is very interesting because I did not get as much light out of the red bulbs as I did with the proper Safelight. So, therefore, a red bulb does work in a pinch. A proper Safelight, you can't beat it, and they're really not that expensive. Alright, so in conclusion, a red bulb does work in a pinch, but it does not beat a proper Safelight with a proper filter. but none of it matters until you run a test to make sure that your safe light is actually safe. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please like it, subscribe, and watch some of my other videos. There's more coming up soon.